was I was black the whole time.
But don't feel bad.
The whole time I was.
Let's say that's another topic.
I think, we don't start.
The link below, do you see it? Why are you watching me still? You haven't clicked the link yet. Click it. Click it. Click the link right now.
That's dope. I did a light research into the whole defunding of the police thing. Very light. Like I didn't spend too much time in that. And just to talk about that topic, because I want to know what you think about it. I want to know what you said. But I did a light study in it, and what I learned was, I forgot where they were doing it at, but one of the states they were talking about, or cities they were talking about it, they said they were going to take the funds from there, start up a civilian type of enforcement.
Yeah.
You would still have cops, like there would still be law enforcement's presence there, but they were gonna do like a citizen, and if it wasn't a violent crime, they would send caseworkers or
Correct.
social workers
Yeah.
out there versus cops.
Yeah, that's what it was about. And there's a city, I forget what city in particular. I remember it at the time because I had done the research.
Yeah.
But they did exactly that, and they did it for a good number of time, and that was the city they're trying to replicate that system about, for less violent crimes, where it was more of like, domestic disputes or, issues that didn't involve someone with a gun coming, to a house or to the location. They would send civil workers or someone to come and basically de-escalate the situation if it's a mental health issue or whatnot. Because I guess it was, recorded that sometimes having someone show up with a gun escalates the situation, because now a mentally unstable person is having to deal with their, psychotic episode in front of a guy and with a gun, and then that police officer, usually they're not trained to deal with someone in that situation, and having that person act out of term in their eyes can cause them to pull out a gun and kill the person or fatally or wound them severely or whatnot. But yeah, they did practice that type of situation to see how it would have helped the society, and they found that it helped. It really did. It lowered the crime rate within that area, but I just don't remember the area per se, but I can find that out for you later on. But I do think it would benefit the nation if they did adapt that type of system, where instead of bringing police officers for less violent crimes, they had someone there who's trained to deal with mentally unstable people, or situations that don't involve someone with a gun to show up. So.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, the way you interact. I think it's not so much that you're a cop, because you still have a job to do, and your job is definitely necessary, but it's just how situations get handled. And even before that, and I've had this conversation before with friends, even before that you were hearing cases.
Right.
I think with social media and computers in our pockets, like the word spreads faster, and it's in your face more often.
Oh, right, yeah.
So we heard about things, prior to that, what I'm saying? There were cases and stuff going on.
Definitely.
Rodney King definitely was a major one.
Oh yeah, that was one of the first, caught on camera that was spread out to the nation, and it wasn't even supposed to be caught on camera. It was, I don't know if you remember how it was done. We were kids back then when that happened, right? Yeah. But it was like from a house across the street of where the incident happened, and they had one of those big cameras, and they end up catching it, and it it kind of shocked the nation, but it didn't really change anything,
No.
right? but it exposed what really goes down.
Yeah.
Now, since it's out in the open and everyone has a camera,
Yeah.
even the police wear cameras, and it's hard for them to try to defend themselves when they can see, the public isn't stupid. The people who are looking at it aren't stupid. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. These days, the justice system really, that people don't have faith in the justice system, anymore. And I see it all the time too. And even one of my mentors that I introduced you to, Frank Amadeo, he's one of those that are fighting, the injustice that's going on in the justice system. But it's something that's common now. I mean, always been common, but it's out there in the open, and it needs to change. It really does.
I think the biggest thing is that people can see what they've been talking about, because there've always been whispers, there's always been conversations about it, we've always been knowing about it, but now being able to see it, it affects you different. It affects you in a different way. And faith in our justice system, or faith in anything dealing with our nation, is just gone. Like, I believe that there's still like people to people faith, but I think any faith in government like that, I think it's definitely wavering in a lot of people, primarily minorities.
It is. Yeah, I mean, I do think there's a solution, and the solution is try not to give any fuel to the fire, right? Try to stay away from being put in a situation that's going to get you caught up into that trap.
Yeah.
That's what my philosophy, and that's what's been helping me out. Fortunately for me, I've never had any issues with my run-in with the cops. I've honestly met, even prior to my military service, met some good cops that, just wanted to be good, public servants. And instead of, even as a kid, wilding out, it was like, hey, don't do that, or I'm gonna tell your mother, and I'm gonna bring you home to your parents and stuff. And that was a while ago, but they should instill that type of connection with the community, because growing up, we knew the cops in the neighborhood, you know, and you knew if you were acting out of line, they were going to see you again. It wasn't something that you can escape. But I don't know how it is nowadays. I'm not really, I can't relate to what goes on out there. I try to stay away from, that type of situation. But it's out there, and it's out there for those that aren't knowledgeable or educated. Now, are police and law enforcement necessary? Of course, they're necessary. They have to be a part of the community. But I just think maybe more better training, should be involved. I mean, you figure they do like a couple months in an academy or whatnot, just and then they're put out on the street and they're expected to know how to handle the situation. I think there needs to be more done than that, but I think that's one of the main points by defunding the police, is having them train better and learning how to interact with the community better. So
there definitely needs to be training on how to better engage, especially policing. Everything has changed, even the healthcare system, the way they do healthcare has changed. A lot has changed. The way that we go about life, even the military has gone through changes. The military has changed. It's the way we teach in schools and the way policing is done.
Different times, man.
Yeah, like
totally.
They gotta change. Those two institutes, especially school, like definitely the way school is done. I believe that needs to adapt to the times a little better. Now, going on your military experience, like how long did you serve for?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Now, did you feel any pride or any sense about yourself being in that uniform? Like what was?
I did, man. This was like almost 20 years ago, or about 20 years ago. So
Yeah.
I was a kid, you know. Yeah, shoot, that uniform made me feel invincible, you know,
Yeah.
putting it on. Yeah, man, we used to do some crazy stuff. I was with the 82nd Airborne Division, you know,
Okay.
military intelligence at 313 MI. We used to jump out of planes for a living and helicopters
Wow.
and stuff. And I signed up for the college money, though, you know, straight up. I wasn't, you know, looking
wasn't Mr.
forward to what
America.
was going on.
Yeah.
But, you know, right in airborne school, that's when the Twin Towers got hit. And then they were like, hey, it looks like you guys are going to be the first ones out there to Afghanistan. And so that was the case, you know. And, you know, me and a group of guys, we volunteered to go out there because, you know, my mindset was, you know, hey, be the first ones there, be the first ones to come back home and not have to deal with it, you know, again. And that's what the case happened. But then right after Afghanistan, it was Iraq.
Yep.
And so it was the same thing over. And I was like, yeah, that's enough for me, you know, because that's not what I really signed up for. But,
Yeah.
you know, then I ended up getting out and going back as a civilian, dealing with the government. And I'm going to Kuwait for a while. And
Nice.
but I was young, you know. It's a young man's game, you know. So,
So I didn't know you jumped out of airplanes.
yeah. I even did a jump here a couple months ago for my first civilian jump too, with a couple of guys, guys that I served with. So, and that was something that I was wanting to do for a while, man, because it was like what 15 years or so since the last time I jumped. So that was pretty fun, and it was a water jump too. So it was like the perfect situation that I could not, you know, refuse, man.
Yeah.
Didn't have to worry about getting these old knees bruised up or anything like that. Because oh man, I tell you, I had about 37 jumps in the military, so
Wow.
they weren't all perfect jumps and perfect situations. You had night jumps, and there were times where I was running on another person's parachute, you know, which could have been dangerous and disastrous even at night. Times where we're about to hit another person in the air, you know.
Wow.
You know, one situation, I jumped out of the plane wrong and hit the side of the airplane. Yeah, which was
On
crazy.
the way back?
No, when I tried to jump out, and because the way we jumped, we had like 100 and plus pounds of equipment on us, you know, to carry on the mission, you know, and so you're basically wobbling out the plane, you know, to get to the door, and so I, you know, miscalculated my jump and ended up hitting the side of the plane and you know, rolling out the door. And there was times when I hit the ground, and there was one time specifically that I remember I hit the ground and blacked out because I ended up landing wrong and end up getting, you know, some, you know, bulging discs in my back and my necks because of it. So, but when you're young, you don't feel that stuff. Nowadays, I feel almost every pain and stuff. But I've been blessed to learn how to cope with it through, you know, exercise and stretching. You know, dealing with martial arts it helps because it helps enhance my flexibility too, and gets my joints moving. It was some fun times because, you know, basically with the guys that I experienced it with, that's what made it some good times. But you know, it wasn't something that I see myself doing throughout my old age. So those times were it was done. It was done for me.
That's crazy, but that's I'm intrigued by that because I've never jumped out of a plane before. I would love to do it. My brother, I have brothers and friends that have done it. But you were jumping solo though.
Yeah.
You didn't. It didn't.
Yeah,
when you
static
did your
line
civilian,
jumps.
When you did your civilian jump, that was
Solo too. Yeah, static line jump.
Static line jumps. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So and helicopters, they don't go as high as planes.
No, but it gets
So
up
that
there.
impact is different. Is the impact different?
They're fun. It was better doing the helicopters because you're not crammed up like you were in the planes, like sardines in the plane.
How many guys are jumping?
Oh man, I can't give you a count, man.
Okay.
Because you had guys stacked up on top of each other,
Get outta
between your
there.
legs and stuff like that, and
Dog.
guys throwing up, and it's because you get that turbulent. It gets hot in there, and some guys are, drinking the night before or something, and and that turbulence hits, and plus the uneasiness of the stomach and anxiety occurs, and but even before you board, it was so common that they give you like a bag just in case you're about to throw up, or you just throw up in your shirt or something. I've done that once or twice. I'm not
throw up in the flight.
Oh yeah, well in the bag, not on myself though, but. And then you smell someone else throwing up, right?
Oh gosh, and then that makes you want to gag.
Yeah, man, you know how it is, but
that's crazy. And then if you're jumping with like pounds of equipment like that, I can imagine that impact on your body. Like that's crazy. Did you go to the VA for that?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm a disabled veteran.
Yeah,
I've got these crazy knees in my back and in my neck, but when you jumping with the equipment, you jettison the equipment in the air. So, I
don't know what that means.
Well, okay, so you have on the plane, you have it all strapped up and tight on you.
Right.
But when you're in the air, you loosen it up so it drops, but it's still tied to you. So the equipment will hit the ground first, but it's still tied on to you.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
So you're not like with all the equipment on, piled on you when you land. There's techniques to it.
Yeah. Now, have you ever did a jump where you jump with vehicles?
Yeah, heavy drops. Yeah.
Dang. That's cool, bro.
That happens.
Now then you get out and you start doing contracting where you're like, dang, I should have contracted first.
Yeah. Well, you made a lot more money.
Yeah.
Put it that way. And time that I did my contracting, it was during, still at the height of the terrorist activity and stuff. So I was getting paid, pretty good money. I mean, for my age anyway, as a young guy.
Yeah.
I mean, 6 months you're making like $100,000 type of deal, and to the point where I was like, man, what am I going to do with all this money? And it was something that always stuck with me too, just the amount of money that I made.
Yeah.
Because being young at the time and not knowing about investments, I knew even though I was partying my ass off and traveling, because I'm in the Middle East and close to almost everything out there, going to Dubai, Spain, Germany, and all those places that's out there for R&R. I would still have money, in the bank, and I was going to people. My coworkers and asking them like, yo, hey man, what am I supposed to do with all this money? Right? And at the time I didn't know like, hey, I should not be asking people who are not on the level that I want to be on, because they would tell me dumb stuff, like, yeah, buy a car, and I knew guys who would save up just to spend all that money on a car, and it was like, yeah, I don't want to do that, but what should I do? And I didn't have the answers at the time. And now being the person that I am now with the experience that I have, I'm always like, man, I should have done this, back then, because I should have invested in real estate, for example, because the property value of real estate was much lower than it is now. And imagine if I invested it back then,
my gosh,
how much
bro.
I would have now, right? So I always think about that. So it's kind of like the mistakes I made in the past. I don't want it to bite me on the ass again. So now I make sure to every time I make money, to invest a percentage of it into into something that I know would give me a good return.
Yeah. I know a lot of guys that partied over there. I guess the biggest thing that stopped me so much from partying is that I wasn't in a relationship at that time. So I think that kept me from a lot of stuff. Okay. But I did not invest. And that was, but I was trying to invest there. I was looking for different things to invest in. I wanted to invest in myself and what I was doing at the time. But what I would do, I would have stayed longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have done it probably. I'd have done.
Yeah, because you did
5.
contracting work too, right?
Yeah, I'd have done about a good 5, 6 years probably. I would have stayed over there.
Yeah, there's some guys that
longer.
They do stay there. They make it a life for themselves because the money's good.
Yeah.
And being that, the wherever they are, the culture is different than it is out here. The respect for Americans is different,
Yep.
Than
Especially
it is out
Black
here.
Americans.
Especially Black Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a totally different treatment,
Yep.
right? Than it is
Treat
out
you like
here.
you're a king over there.
Right, exactly. Exactly. I loved it, I didn't do too much. I only did about for contract work I just renewed once and then left before the end of another one because I had a son, and I didn't want to leave my son here, in the States without me, being here so that he can be some type of statistic because I was enjoying it too much, man. I would have been one of those lifers. I was thinking about, being in the Philippines somewhere or going to Thailand somewhere and just making a life for it, but
You'd have been a king in Thailand.
yeah, tell me about it, right?
You would have been a
There were
king.
guys that were doing that. That's some of the guys a lot of the guys. That's what they were pumping in my head. They were like, "Yeah, man, I own property in the Philippines. I got a wife there, and this and that." I'm like, "Oh man, seriously? Okay, that's what I should do." But
That was my same. I'm the same story, man. I had a son, and I didn't want him to do that, so I left. I left before I wanted to, and at that time, having him, I was like, man, I was happy to leave and stuff like that. And now I look back, I'm like, dang, that was because, see, and then I want to get into like your transition into because you've had that business mindset.
yeah,
Even then, see, contracting is good for that is definitely a young man's game. It's a 20. If I could have done my whole 20s there,
yeah,
and then invested, and then like my 30s spent that time reaping that investment and moving things around, to where now you spent your 20s being basically your own investor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now you've opened up a couple businesses and spend your 30s just flipping your businesses and making more money. That's the way I'd have done it. So I guess that transitioning into what you're doing now. So just talk a little bit about the stuff that you're doing now. I've had an experience with your accounting and tax preparation. I love it. You guys definitely did hit this man up.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah,
Tax money 1, 2, 3.
That's correct. Yeah, tax money. I got into the tax business because of my private security business. What happened was while I was a contractor, I was just reading a lot of books. Had a lot of alone time in the desert in the hot, 120 degrees. Even though I was making a lot of money, I had to work for it. I mean, there were times where I'm, doing 14-hour shifts.
Jeez.
Doing third shift, drinking nothing but Rippets and Monster drinks, and having a lot of time to read and figure out what kind of plans that I wanted to create for myself. And what happened was I was thinking about emulating the same type of company that I was working for.
Oh,
and,
wow.
I mean, I had that type of mindset always, ever since I was young.
Yeah.
I'm working for a company. I could do this, I can make it better or whatnot. And so that was the kind of mentality that I had while I was over there. I was like, I can, since I was in a leadership position too and managing some of the contractors that I was out there, I was like, I can do this. I had talked to the project manager too while I was there, plus the owner. I was there. It was cool. For one of the companies I was, the owner was a black dude. Didn't have any college sororities or military experience. He just had the mindset of trying to, you know, create something. But now he had the people around him, of course, you know, who had military service, and you know the officers, you know, it was flooded with nothing but military guys, but he didn't have any, and it was like, you know what, if he can do this, you know, I can do it. And so I would get pointers from him, and so one of the ideas that I had, even though I still while I was a contractor, I had experience in private security. I was like, yeah, you know what, let me go back home and start my own, you know, private security company, and work on creating some type of plan to get a government contract such as this, and you know, get some guys out here, get a project manager, and get things started. You know, since I had experience in it too, I know what to look for. I created a lot of networks with higher ranking people in the military too, who are you know, encouraging me to do it. And so when I got back to the States, you know, that's what I did. I put the plan in motion. But you know, I guess there was another purpose for me, because one of my mentor, who was my uncle, he's major. You know, he has a major business in the tax agency game, and he asked me for help because he was experiencing, you know, some threats from his tax business, and he used to stay in his office, you know, till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock at night.
What?
Yeah, and his office his main office is located down on the trail. And at the time, the trail was hectic. You know, it's not not as, you know, OBT, for those who don't know what the trail is here in Orlando. It was crazy. You know, they had people wandering the streets at all types of, and there were nights where there would be, you know, people sleeping in front of his building, and so he didn't really feel safe, you know, and wanted me to be there, you know, to help him, escort him to his car and that stuff, and he was paying me to do it, you know, knowing that I had the background for it. So my private security business got me introduced, even though prior to it, you know, I had talked to him about learning taxes, because I had a little glimpse of the effects, you know, it had on helping other people. And one of my main things was always like, you know, I like helping people. So I wanted to always find ways to help people. But he gave me a glimpse of it, because I had gotten to a situation myself with the IRS that he helped me out of, to where, you know, when I finished that contracting situation, while I was over there first, they were like, yeah, you know, you don't have to pay taxes on your money and all this stuff. And again, I was young, so I didn't know any better. And they probably explained it to me right. I just didn't grasp it in my head at the time. You know, all the tax language at the time was like a foreign language. It was like, you know, Japanese or something to me at the time. But I ended up having like a $5,000 debt or something that I had to pay to the IRS. And at the time, I was just going to school and doing my private security, you know, investigation business on the side. But you know, the school money I was making from going to school to getting the MGI bill from the military was basically supporting me. And so when they sent me a letter saying that I owe $5,000, I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do? You know, the biggest bully on the block, the IRS, is knocking on my door saying I have to pay them. And so my mom was like, yeah, go to your uncle, you know, he knows how to, he does my taxes, you know, he can help you out. And so I did, and he ended up, you know, getting all, you know, the credits and deductions necessary for me being over there to, and we corresponded with the IRS for a while, and next thing you know, they wrote me a check for $5,000, right? So I was like, yeah, that's what I said. I was like, yeah, man, you're gonna have to teach me how to do this, right? And he was like, yeah, I will in due time. But you know, it just skipped, times passed, and it skipped our minds. until he called me up for some help. And then, so I was, next to him, on the regular during the tax season that year that, he asked me for help. So since I was, right there with them, I started learning, started asking the right questions about how to get involved in the business. And, one of the most important things that he told me was, all right, man, you want to get in this business, buy yourself a black book, and everything that you spend and everything that you make, write it in that black book. And I want to see it, show it to me next week, and so for that first week, even if it was a stick of bubble gum, I put it in there. And once I made money, I put it in there. And then I showed him, I was like, hey, like this? He's like, yeah, just like that. Keep doing it. And I think I still have that black book, but I did that for about 2 years, just creating a ledger. And the first year I was just like, whoa, look at what I spent my money on, after I did that. Right. Yeah. And that changed my life, from there. But anyway, so he ended up teaching me the game. And, I ended up managing and working in his office, for about 2 years, until he was like, yeah, man, you got this down pack, it's time for you to open up your own. So I thought about moving to Ocala. So I moved to Ocala, during that time, and opened up my first office out there in the Ocala, Denellen area. Wow. And the rest is history. It just started growing and growing. But I put my own twist in it because I didn't grow without my friends' help. I didn't grow without people referring other people to me. Right. And so I was like, I got to do something for my friends who referred people to me. So I ended up, structuring my business to where it was a profit sharing tax business to where whenever someone referred someone to me, I ended up sharing the profits with them, and word caught around, and next thing you know, I'm, out in California, getting people from California, from New York, from Texas, and Alaska. I hit up there, in Alaska, and this was during a time before COVID, before people were doing, online tax, businesses, before even the major, tax companies were doing the online, deal. I already had that online network and online idea through my private security business because, I was being sent all over the nation through that private security business. So I was like, yeah, let me implement that same type of system with the tax business, and the rest was history. I was all over the place, and and now and that was the past. Now I have greater and bigger visions ahead of me. Yeah, the past is the past. It's the future that I'm focused on right now, man. So,
you seem extremely like. I don't even know if this is a word. Calculative. It's a word now. I made it up. But you seem like you just like you calculate a lot.
I do. Like
your brain is like computing.
It does. It processes things to where I kind of. I think what really I would say what I might have had that type of mindset forever, right. But the business mindset I got from my dad. He's always an entrepreneur. He was always doing, going to the next level, taking himself to the next level. Yeah. I mean, the man's in his 70s and he's in law school right now. You get what I'm saying? Crazy. Like, yeah, he's like that, right? And so. But I think that calculating, or I think the martial arts probably did that for me. The calculating, seeing the next move that you're gonna do, and knowing what the outcome is gonna be. So probably I should do that move. I should do another move.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the military, you know, exposed that in me. It kind of enhanced it, you know, because I had to do a lot of calculating and bore a lot of responsibility while I was in the military at a young age.
Yeah.
And that also created confidence in my mindset, you know, knowing that, oh man, they give me all this responsibility, and I could do it, you know. So, you know, in the civilian world, it just made me more confident in my, you know, calculating abilities. Yeah. And
What is your what's your risk assessment like?
as far as
Just like how do you calculate risk? You know, because as a civilian, for a civilian, or I'm saying for a civilian, for someone that's like not in business full time, or that's not a business owner, your risk assessment will just be like, should I take this job? Should I not take this job? Or should I apply for this position? Should I not apply for this position? Should I move my family? Like that's where you get risk assessment. So I guess it's like you're still assessing your risk, but you know, there's a lot to lose, but I guess it'll be different. You know, the weight of responsibility is different on the business owner.
yeah,
Because now you have livelihoods, other people's lives, you have employees, you have contracts, you have customers that you want to please.
Yeah.
You know, like, so
and
are those risks still big? Like, are you taking major risks?
Yeah, I do take major risks. On that aspect, yeah, my risk assessment is the return of the investment.
Okay.
And, you know, you got to fail sometimes. You know, I've failed in a lot of businesses, you know, don't get me wrong. I didn't just, you know, start, you know, a private security business or a tax business and was always successful, you know, prior to or whatnot. I've started businesses and they failed, but even till today, you know, I've started several businesses that didn't work, you know, but, you know, I just keep going. I have my dad's mindset too of always using my creative aspect, and that always makes me want to find another venture.
Yeah.
And so I assess the risks on the return, and if it doesn't give me that return that I want, then I just get out of it. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's because you can't really get ahead or succeed without taking risks. You know, you have to. The greater the risk, the greater the rewards. But I seem to now understand and see that goes the calculated mindset. You know, so I see it better now. So I don't, you know, really get hurt off of making a risk. You know, or damage myself any off of making a risk because they're calculated risks. You know, there are risks off of things that I know, you know, and so I know like the outcome of, or if I don't know it, I deal with a person that does know it, you know, and so, and I partner up with them because I trust in their vision. I see what the outcome, the results are. Yeah. And then we try to work on something together, you know, on a different joint venture off of what they've created. And if I like it and I know that, you know, their outcome is solid, then I take that risk, you know. If it doesn't work, it just doesn't work, you know. It's just on to the next mission, on to the next venture, you know. Yeah, now you made me think of two more questions out of that. You said you've gotten better at it. So now is it like, okay, I'm not going to take a risk on something, because I've had this thought. I don't know if it's true or not. I haven't spoken to enough business people to know if this is, or even ask this question. Like when it comes to being a business owner, full-time business owner, now you're successful, you're thriving. You don't take that many risks anymore. Now it's just like, I'm only hopping into something if that return is great. I was watching Shark Tank, and I watched it how, you know, the hosts of the show, I guess they're called hosts, or the different sharks on the show,
they'll pass on a lot.
Yeah.
Like they pass on a lot of stuff that I'm like, oh man, that's kind of a cool idea. But when they start breaking that person down, it's just like the idea is great, but there's no way to execute this great idea.
Correct.
Or there's no way to execute this idea.
There's a
probably
reason
why
for
you
it.
don't see it.
There's a reason for it, because you got to ask yourself, because the idea could be awesome, man.
Yeah.
You know, it could be awesome, but you got to ask yourself, is that what the market wants? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can have the best idea,
Yeah.
but if the market doesn't want it, you know, what's the point?
Dang. That's probably why we don't see things like, yo, somebody should invent this. It's probably the reason why it wasn't invented.
Yeah. I
Now,
mean,
the market doesn't
or
want
probably
it.
was invented and the market didn't want it. Right? You know, it's kind of like, okay, like one of the businesses I had was a record label, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but let's say if I had that same flow years ago, this was back in like 2003 or that I had it,
Mm-hmm.
that same flow, you know, we weren't talking about stuff that they're talking about now.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So if I had that same flow and I try to put out that music today, even though I thought it was the best idea, the best track, the best sound, is the market gonna want it?
Yeah.
Is it gonna be played on the radio with all the stuff that's being played now? You know,
Yeah.
it wouldn't, because that's not what the market wants. They want to hear what's being played right now, and it's
Yeah.
totally different than was played in 2003. You get what
It
I'm saying?
is completely different. So how long, for the people that are watching, even for myself too, like how long do you sit in a bad investment before you say, oh, this is a bad investment?
Nowadays, I surround myself with a group of people that want to see me succeed.
Right.
I have mentors, you know, advisors that even though I think like this is a good idea, I bring it to them because they have years ahead of me.
Yeah.
And they started businesses, you know, the hundreds of businesses or whatever, and they'll give me their opinion, and I weigh my options and go from there. Normally, I listen to their opinions because one of the things that I've always done, you know, growing up was, you know, being, you know, giving myself the opportunity to fail. You know, I would do that, you know, if I thought that, you know, this is something I wanted to do. But I also listened to other people who took that route, and if they made that mistake and I seen that they made that mistake, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so I listen to wise counsel. I surround myself with wise counsel, because they made that mistake too, you know, and they know that it doesn't work. And why would I want to go and waste my time doing something that, you know, the people that I trust and their advice already have done and know it doesn't work. You know, I don't make the mistakes that other people have made. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
if that makes sense, I don't know. So if it makes sense or not, and I don't know if other people can relate, but yeah, I surround myself with older and wiser people than me, the smarter people than me.
Yeah. Do you have like a timeline in which you give an investment before it's deemed profitable or not? Or do you just kind of like fill it out?
No, I don't have a timeline. You know, if an investment, a year is usually a good timeline. You know, I'll give it a year, but if it's a good investment, you're gonna start seeing results, you know, instantly usually. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, from me, yeah, I start seeing results instantly. Like, for example, the tax business, okay, I got in it, and you know, the first time I, you know, made money from it, that instant, you know, that first customer, yeah, that was like enough to tell me that this is the right path.
This is right.
Right. You get what I'm saying? Same with the real estate game, you know, the real estate investment game. It's hard work, but you know, first time I made a sale, it was like, okay, wow, cool.
Yeah.
This is it. First time I made an investment. First time I made a flip.
Yeah.
First time I made, it doesn't take long for you to tell, like, yeah, this is something that I want to get into. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, you don't have to wait that long, in my opinion. Some people, depending on what it is that you're dealing with, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the results can vary.
Mm-hmm.
But the investments that I deal with, the moves that I deal with, it doesn't take long at all for me to see results.
I'm gonna tell you one of the biggest things that surprises me. I'm up late a lot because of this show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because of this show, I'm up a lot. And I told my wife, I said, getting in front of the camera like this right here, doing this with you, this is light work. This is the easy part. The hard part is what happens behind that camera.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and that is the work. You know what I'm saying? This right here is a result of the work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and what was cool to me is when we launched season 2, the people that we were getting to say yes, I was like, oh snap, oh snap, oh snap. And that right there was like, dang, we may have something here. Because when I first started, it was one way. And I mean, I'm up late at night and I inbox like crazy. Like, I send messages on Facebook like crazy.
Yeah.
And I was up to like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, just inboxing people, bro, because I got to get people to sit down with.
Yeah.
And I mean, and the people that we're reaching out to is like next level people, and they're hitting me back 12 o'clock. My wife was like, you message people that late? I'm like, they responded. And I was like, cause they up, they on the grind, they grinding.
Yeah.
So you'd be surprised how many. I was shocked at how many people are up.
I'm not
just
surprised.
Like me.
I'm not surprised at all.
they
the
up.
way it is. It's the way it is, guys. But
Yeah.
but the ones that are not, trying to get to that level, they're not going to understand it. But the ones who are, they understand it.
They see that message come at 12 o'clock. They're not offended by it.
Yeah.
Dude, this was extremely insightful, man. I learned a lot from you. There's going to be a lot of nuggets that people are going to take out of this, man.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you sitting down with me, man. So the fun part, man, tell the people how they can get in touch with you, because now they're going to hire you as an accountant. They're going to get their taxes done through you. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
So let them know how to get in touch.
Just make sure you mention that you see me on the Sit Down with Daniel Tademy. Make sure you subscribe. All right. And when you get in contact with me, you can find me on my website, taxmoney123.com. Or you can hit me up, call or text 407-601-9493. That's my cell. But just make sure you let me know where you see me, and that's here on the show.
Yeah. Thank y'all so much for watching another episode of The Sit Down. Like this video. Subscribe to the YouTube, but you don't watch my stuff and you don't subscribe. Y'all not the type of people. So, thank you so much for subscribing. Shout out to the partners, taxmoney123.com.
That's what's up. Yeah. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the
Pinka,
shout out.
And then the most beautiful sponsor, my wife, Oksana Tademy, the legacy coach. All of them partners are in the description of this video. You can check them all out. I will see you guys next time on The Sit Down. Thanks for watching. Deuces.
Awesome.